my God, this team, man. If you go back to the Rangers video, and you go to the very end, when I quickly tee up the next game, and I said it was going to be a tough one because the Leafs never get up for the bad teams. Oh, what a game tonight, though, wasn't it? The Leafs absolutely dog it for 40 minutes. They look awful. Samsonov looks atrocious. And then all of a sudden, the third period, they turn it on and they complete the 5-0 comeback just to lose in overtime. It's crazy, man. Oh. But in the long view of things, they do get a point in a game where they really didn't deserve it. And they continue the point streak. They're 15-6-6 on the year. And if you're looking at the out-of-town scoreboard, the Panthers are down 4-0 to Vancouver, and Detroit lost in regulation to Carolina, and Ottawa lost in regulation to St. Louis. So there's positives on the out-of-town scoreboard. You got a point out of this, I guess. But let's break this thing down. The first period was putrid for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Laine and Ken Johnson score, but on both goals, the Leafs have opportunities to clear the puck out of the zone, out of their own zone, and they can't do it. Whether it's Max Domi, I believe William Lagesson turns over behind his own net. Both are turnovers, and they allow goals to happen. Laine and Kent Johnson score, and you're down 2-0 after one period, and shots on goal are 11-10 in favor of Columbus, but the Leafs do come on at the end of the first period. And thinking, okay, maybe. Second period. Somehow this dude is not a Leaf by now, but Justin Danforth, shout out Danforth Avenue, and Danforth Road, I think there's two of them actually. He scores to make it 3-0 Columbus, and they weren't done. Chinnikov scores, making it 4-0, less than just over 2 minutes after Danforth scores at 8:16. 4 minutes after that, on the power play, Johnny Gaudreau scores. It is 5-0 Columbus. 5-0 Columbus. Oh, my God. With like 6 minutes of play in the end of the second period. It's crazy, man. I said it at the end of that video because the Leafs just do this. They do it so much. And they play the really good teams. They get up for those games. They play really good hockey. And they beat them like they did against the Rangers. And they go out there against the really bad teams in the Columbus Blue Jackets. And they lay eggs because they don't really care. Well, through 40 minutes, that was the case. Samsonov allowed 5 goals on 26 shots in the 40 minutes. And the first two periods, you can't really blame him on those two. So the first period, you can't blame him on those 2 goals. But the second period, man, I will say this. If you listen to Leafs talk after the game with JD Bunkus and Sam McKee, the first thing they say, and first thing Sam says is, make a save. Like, for God's sakes, mix in a save. And absolutely, like, sure, these may be tough saves here. You'd like to see one of your goaltenders make a bigger save here and there. It doesn't have to always be clean and quiet. I'll bring it back to that Ottawa game with Joe Wall in the net before he went down with the injury. The reason the Leafs won that game was because through the first, 35, 40 minutes of that game, Joe Wall was their best player. And he was outstanding, keeping you in that game, allowing you to get your feet wet, allowing you to get into the contest, and then you came back and you won that game. That's why. But Ilya Samsonov today allowed 5 goals in the first 40 minutes. The Leafs didn't play well. I'm not gonna give him any slack. Shots on goal in the second period were 15-15, and then we go to the third. Centering pass from Austin Matthews to Willie Nylander scores only 38 seconds in, right? And right there, like, an early third period goal, maybe, right? But we're laughing at this point. Matthews and Lagesson grab assists in the goal. And then with under 4 minutes in, Mitch Marner somehow between the legs slides it 5-hole. Like, it was great and it was kind of cute looking. But you were down 5-1, so it really didn't mean much at that point. Marner from Tavares and Bobby McMahon at 3:49. And it's 5-2 early on. Oh, maybe. I think Nylander then took a penalty, and we're all like, oh, okay, well, that kind of killed the vibe. McCabe with the point shot on the power play, buries it. Robertson and Timmins grab assists on the goal at 14:21. It's a 5-3 game with under 6 to play. It's still got some time. Matthews scores with a $1:15 to go. Marner and Nylander grab assists, and we're like, but I'm thinking to myself, right? I'm at Jack. Shout out Anna and Rob, my two great friends. We were at Jack Astor's celebrating my birthday, and we were watching the game, right? And I'm sitting here at 5-4. I'm like, look, the Leafs will lose this game in regulation. Right? They'll lose 5-4 because that's what the Leafs do. They reel you in, and they lose. But then Austin Matthews buries a tying goal with 45 seconds left. Assisted by Tavares and Nylander. At 19:15, he's got another multi-goal game. 23rd on the season. And somehow, the Leafs come back from a 5-0 deficit and tie this game at 5. The vibes are immaculate. Everyone's losing their mind. But then in overtime, Kent Johnson just beats Samsonov short side with a shot. And yeah, you lose in overtime. Does not give you deja vu with the Islanders game, right? All the emotion late in the game, tying it late. Oh, crazy vibes. You lose it in OT. It's very spit and image. So you lose in overtime. Face-offs, you dominate. Special teams, both teams were 1 for 2 in the face-off done. Shots were 48-35 in favor of the Leafs. 21-7 in the third period and 2-2 in overtime. Look. I said it on Twitter, and I'll say it again. Joe Woll cannot come back soon enough, but I do not want him rushing back by any means. I sound like a broken record when I say this, but I have to say it again. Ilya Samsonov, being as so unpositionally sound as he is, it doesn't work. Like, yeah, it worked last year for the Leafs. Great. Well, they had one of the best defensive teams in hockey. They were top 5 or top 6 in goals against, and they were just a really good team. Now, I'm not saying this team is horrific because they're 15-6-6. It ain't a bad record at all. And you get a point out of today, so it is what it is. But as Sam McKee and JD Bucket said, mix in a save, man. 6 goals on 35 shots. The first 2, not his fault. Awful turnovers. One was on a deflection as well. I think it was the second goal. But every other goal, they're just beating him flush. Whether there's a guy coming down on a rush, guy coming down off the wing, just beating him. No screen, nothing, just beating him clean. 6 on 35 shots, an 8.29 save. It's not good enough. It's just not good. Mix in 1 save, man. I don't want to jump to conclusions and say I want to see Martin Jones more. But if you watch the last game against the Rangers, how many times did Martin Jones look out of position? He stopped 2 breakaways, and on both breakaways, he didn't look out of control. So I'd like to see it a bit more. Key players offensively, Matthews a 3-point night, 2 goals and an assist. Marv with a goal and 2 assists. Nylander a goal and an assist. McCabe obviously with a goal, but somehow still a -2. Tavares with 2 assists. Lagesson, McMahon, Timmins, and Robertson all had assists in the game. And that's all she wrote. One of the historic comebacks for the Toronto Maple Leafs in team history, but you lose in overtime. A point is a point, however, and if we quickly look at the standings before we wrap this thing up, the Leafs are now tied with the Florida Panthers. And if they lose today, which I believe, they're still down 4-0 in the third period against Vancouver, the Leafs will be tied with 2 games in hand. They're in good shape, but they got to keep going. Okay? Keep rolling, keep getting points. And the next game for the Toronto Maple Leafs is on Saturday as they host Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins. You better get up for that game. I presume Samsonov's going to be in the net for that game, but I'd like to see a little bit of Martin Jones. I got to be honest here. I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't. But you're probably going to see Samsonov on Saturday against the Pittsburgh Penguins at 7 o'clock on Scotiabank Arena. All right, so you know what, guys? That's going to do it for this one. If you're into the video and the third period and that's it, hit that like button. I do appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you guys not already. Comment down below your thoughts on the video, thoughts on the game. Would you like, would you not like? From today's game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Twitter, Discord, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff is down below. So follow up there if you're not done so already, and I will talk to you guys Raptors edition tomorrow. Yeah, 7:30 tip-off between the Raptors and Hawks for the second time in as many days. And as for the Leafs, they're back in action on Saturday as they host Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins. All right, 7 o'clock puck drop at Scotiabank Arena. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And the third period and 1 point, I guess. Talk to you guys then.